Now in this video, let's explore the origin of the zodiac. So the zodiac is composed of the 12 signs, which are known as the 12 rashis, right, in Vedic astrology. The word zodiac is actually of Greek origin and it refers to animals, right? Therefore, in English, we also got other words that start with zoo, like the zoo or zoology, and they are all related to zodiac. So the word zodiac is a Greek word and refers to the circle of living creatures. Right? And in the zodiac, all the symbols are, some of those are living creatures, right? Aries is the ram, Taurus is the bull, and so on. Even those that seemingly are only, we could say things, they are actually also living beings. Like Libra is thought of as the scale or Sagittarius as the bow. But if we read the descriptions carefully, then we will find out that actually Libra is, a human at a bazaar with a scale. And Sagittarius is a person on a horse with a bow. So they're also human beings actually, but they sort of have those things. Okay, so all the signs in the zodiac are symbolized by a living being. Aquarius is the water bearer, right, who carries the pot. It's not just a pot, it's actually someone that actually carries that pot. And that's why the Greek call it the zodiac, because it has to do with these different zoological things, basically. And that's why there's in the zodiac we get the fish kingdom, the insect kingdom, the mammals, and also the humans. And so the 12 signs of the zodiac are symbolized by all these different earth-dwelling creatures. And this aspect of the zodiac is likely of Greek origin. In the older Indian astrological texts, we don't see, this type of arrangement in the zodiac, of Aries being the ram and, Cancer being the crab and so on. And therefore, many scholars actually even think that, the 12 signs of the zodiac actually came into India from the Greeks. Now we can say that in the context of calling these signs after animals, that's actually quite possible. That this habit came to India through the Greeks, specifically, through Alexander the Great. But that doesn't mean that the signs themselves were introduced by the Greeks to India. Jaimini Sutras, which are written around or likely before the time of Alexander the Great, is a sign-based astrological system, and that uses numbers actually for the signs. And it tells us we should use the number 1 for Aries and number 2 for Taurus and so on. And when we go further back actually in time and look into the oldest astrological texts, then we actually find descriptions of the 12-fold division of the zodiac, but there is no mention of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on. Right? We have the Rig Veda, for example, which is considered one of the oldest texts actually in the entire world. Now, this text primarily doesn't deal with astrology, but there is still the description of the 12-fold division of the zodiac in there. And Western Indologists, actually, they say that this text is written around 3500 BC. That obviously predates, the height of the Greek civilization by a long time, by around 3,000 years, right? And in that Rig Veda, we actually find descriptions of the 12-fold division of the ecliptic, but without those names of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so forth, right? And then, more importantly, also the main astronomical text of India, the Surya Siddhanta, that claims actually to have been given to mankind around 6000 BC. And the Surya Siddhanta tells us how to, calculate the planets' movements. That is, of course, absolutely necessary, to do astrology. Most of the astronomical calculations actually are taken from this book that we use in Vedic astrology. Of course, some might think, wow, this is a bit far-fetched, 6000 BC. However, we know that there's many other remains of astronomical monuments from ancient civilizations all over the world that were designed to measure the movement of the sun, right? And the origin of the civilizations we know now go back to a similar time period. And they seemingly knew about the importance of the sun-earth cycles. And they had a way to observe and measure the planets and the stars and so forth, right? And why did they do that? Well, because it was important, right? Because when they observed the movements of the sun and the moon, then they were able to create a calendar. They knew about seasons, right? They were able to know what are auspicious and inauspicious days and so forth, right? So, yes, and so the true origin of the zodiac happened long before any recorded history that we possess right now. And we can't say that the Greeks brought the zodiac signs to India. There is just too much evidence that the 12-fold division of the zodiac existed in India a long time before that, right? However, we can make a good argument that the zodiac signs were renamed, okay? And as we will see, those Greek names, those symbols of the ram and the bull and so forth, and also actually the places where those creatures live, those are all really helpful indicators actually for the signs, right? And we are gonna learn, we're gonna go into detail about learning and understanding those indicators that were given to us by the Greeks actually, that we also absorbed into our Vedic astrology practice, right? But it is also equally important to understand the original symbology of the signs in Vedic astrology, and to know more about what those, the way that we actually look, at the signs and the way that we understand them. For that, that's what we're gonna talk about in the next video.